What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about the Game Awards, in addition to everything pretty much that we've seen so far in the AV community. So, thank you all for coming out tonight. Smack a like on this live stream, and of course, bring your questions. I'll also be answering some frequently asked questions that I've seen throughout the week to try to start things off. So, again, just make sure that you all are bringing your questions, and I'll do what I can to help you guys out. Now, on my most recent video, not my shorts, my actual videos, there's been a lot of questions about firmware 1420.9 versus firmware 1080, and a lot of people are asking, particularly I've seen this pop up a lot, is 1304 and 13010. Everybody kind of wants to know, like, is this a good firmware? How is it? That kind of thing. 1304 was the one that actually made me want to return the Samsung S95B, and in fact, I did. I ran out and I bought another Samsung S95B because it was just that dreadful. So I don't see 1304 being the solution. Now, 1310, things got a little bit better. That's the one that my brand new Samsung S95B that I have right now is rocking. But for all intents and purposes, it wasn't fantastic. At least in terms of, day one was better, right? And I think that's for me one of the things that really kind of gets annoying because it's like, again, firmware is supposed to improve things. We already are seeing a trend where firmware doesn't really do much of anything. So that's kind of one of those things that we have to bear with. So I don't know. It is what it is. Now, as far as game awards and all that other stuff, I'll be very transparent. I've had a lot of fun trolling a lot of the Elden Ring players. I think for me, it's been really a very fun experience, I would say. And I think the biggest thing is just how easily they offend. They kind of make it easy to farm them for views. And I can say that shamelessly because they shamelessly attack other people that don't want to play the trial and error simulator that is their game of the year, which is fantastic. But it kind of leads me into like the Game Awards kind of was rigged. And the way I say that is because like the only game I genuinely wanted to win an award that didn't, that I'm genuinely angry and salty about is Forza Horizon 5. I feel like the way they handled that was disgusting. It didn't even have a chance to win anything. It was literally more or less just like, okay, Gran Turismo 7 or bust. And you already saw how it was going to go. We all knew Gran Turismo 7 was going to show up with the win. And it got to a point where I got really angry. And I sat there, I'm like, how is Forza 5 not up there? I mean, if you look at the feedback from Gran Turismo 7 that the fans had for it versus Forza Horizon 5, there's no doubt people were happier with Forza Horizon 5 than, especially comparatively to Gran Turismo. So for me, I'm genuinely angry. I think that was a highway robbery, but it really feels more like the winner of who paid the most is. And I really do feel that way about Gran Turismo versus Forza. As far as all the other games, I mean, honestly, the games I like most don't ever win Game of the Year. So genuinely, truly, I never care about Game of the Year because it's not indicative of the kind of fun that I can have. For example, Mario Kart 8 just launched their brand new tracks, right? But in that free update, you can now choose whatever items that you want, enhancing the game a little bit more. So it makes family fun a lot more engaging and fun for me. So, like me being a family man and enjoying that kind of thing, those kind of games, yeah, sure, don't win Game of the Year, but the amount of fun I have is kind of like immeasurable, especially going online in Mario Karts. Man, you find some real monsters. But you get what I'm saying. It's like, a lot of people look at Game of the Year. I've seen some people have some crazy meltdowns. I saw the kid that was on stage just kind of goofing off. I don't know what that was about. And how nobody stopped him. He literally just walked up. That's a real big security issue. I mean, like the kid literally could have killed anybody that was up there. Like that's how close these people could have come to death. And I think when you have such a breach in security, like where this kid just walks down the aisle, there's not an usher in the aisle to say, "Hey, you need to sit back down" or anything. I think that was really poorly managed. But again, I mean, the Game Awards to me was a bit of a joke though, because what we saw coming out of the Game Awards was basically a bunch of CGI trailers like every year, no real gameplay, and gamers actually got booted out of their own show for Hollywood, basically. It was another platform for TV shows and movies to come out and plug their garbage. Like, oh, look at this TV show. Oh, look at this. We've got these actors from this film. It's like, nobody cares. We're here for games. Show us games. And I really, being a little bit more old school in that regard, I really feel like they should have delivered a lot more of the games than what we did end up seeing. So I think, again, everybody's going to have their opinion on that, but that's just kind of mine. We've got Bam. Bama fan, you said Ragnarok should have got Game of the Year. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are going to feel like Elden Ring didn't deserve it. I kind of already saw it like everybody else. It was only going to go one of two ways. There was only two ways it could have ever have gone. It was either going to be Dad of War or Elden Ring because those are the two most popular games right now. And the thing that held Dad of War back is it just didn't launch as early as Elden Ring to move as many units, to pick up as much press or whatever. And again, it is what it is. Frankly, I don't like the game. I'll be very transparent about Elden Ring. It is a death simulator. It's literally a trial and error simulator of the highest order. You live, you die, you repeat the process until you win. And that feeling for some people of winning after dying a bunch of times is gratifying. And so, congratulations if you finally beat that one boss you've been grinding. Congratulations if you sunk hundreds of hours in and you have this feeling of pride and accomplishment. I don't experience that because I have a challenging life, right? And when you have a challenging life, like a truly challenging life, you do not want shit else when you come home from work. You want it to be easy. You just put in 16, 18 hours that day. You don't want to sit there grinding on a fucking boss like some 12-year-old. You just don't. Now, if you're 12, by all means, you don't know what I'm talking about because you're not in the real world with a wife and kids and life and shit. Like that hits different, right? And I think the grown men that can do those things, they probably don't take those things as seriously as those of us who literally have to kill ourselves to make what we make. So again, if you feel however you feel, but I genuinely do not have hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of hours to dump into a game to hashtag get good like kids that are still in high school taking SATs. Like by all means, that's your only job. Like your only job is to go to school. But like if you got to be the go getter, you got to make it, bro. You don't have time for that. And so people have this big disconnect with understanding how a grown man does not have the interest in a live, die, repeat simulator for that one high of winning something. And it was kind of like what I was saying in the beginning, where it was just kind of like, when you die, it's just kind of like, it's sometimes it's super random. You get spawned in the wrong area. Like, I don't have patience for that, right? And I think, again, if you enjoy it, have fun with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think, like all things, everybody has their type of game, right? So for me, it's just not my type of game. It's just not my cup of tea, right? But that doesn't mean it's not some people's cup of tea. Now, I'll be very transparent. In my initial Elden Ring review, I was pretty much like, yo, this game kind of sucks. I fucking hate it kind of thing. And then I saw the responses I was getting on my initial review, removed that initial review and came out with something far more critical and bashed the Elden Ring players because they were disrespectful. Because, I mean, like, straight up, like, it's one thing to love a game, but it's something entirely different to, like, go beyond that and then be, like, ultra disrespectful, hunting literally for anyone who has, like, a negative take on the game. And I think that's the part that, like, I didn't have patience for. It was like seeing that hound behavior, and especially because like a lot of the people that were attacking were a lot of the socially awkward weirdos that should know firsthand that like you don't want to be ostracized or treated like crap, but they're the first ones to do it to other people. As they hide behind anonymous profiles, it's a joke. So for me, it was like trolling them for like the better part of the entire year. I had fun with it, and it was great. And hey, you know what? We cleaned up shop, and I can say so shamelessly, bro. You guys will see. It'll be very fun for me next year. More TVs. You guys helped us fund Quantum TV by literally just trolling. Because I'll tell you the thing about like real YouTubers know this, and you can fact check this with any YouTuber. Likes and dislikes don't really matter as much as watch time, click through rate, like the engagement, all that stuff matters the most. So like everybody who has been coming on and who have been ratioing, it's like you've really done nothing but like literally just put money in my pocket, bro, like all day, every day. Now I do have some of you guys coming on, and you guys are like, just joined. What's the rant? What's happening? We're just talking about the Game Awards because Elden Ring wins Game of the Year. And if you don't know, we've had a bunch of trolls throughout the entire year talking about this one game that is like their Hail Mary. It's like their victory. Have fun with it, I guess. I don't know. And I was answering Bam Fan who was saying, Dad of War Ragnarok basically should have won Game of the Year. And it's just me kind of like talking about it and the show in general. But like Elden Ring aside, right? Like I'm never going to like the game because I think, frankly, it would not have killed the developers to have respect for new players. Like it takes 2 seconds to add a difficulty toggle. And it's not just Elden Ring that I have this viewpoint with. Every video game that doesn't have a difficulty toggle to kind of ease you in so you don't have to die as much, I don't have time for it because again, I'm trying to go get it in my life, bro. I'm making money. Like I don't have time for this bullshit where I'm fucking sitting here after I've worked a really hard day and then come back to what? A video game that's like, oh, you gotta work hard for your stuff? Like, nah, I'm good. I just want it relaxed, easy, and to unwind. But again, I'm an unwinding kind of personality. But again, some people want to like live life on the edge, I guess, with Elden Ring or all these other harder games, go do it. But so that was my thing with it. And so that's kind of what's happening. I'm just kind of explaining that part of it. Now, what's going on to Enoch? You said, what's good, Quantum? I've seen your short video, and you said on an example, what would be happening to you? Yeah, he said, what would happen when you wall mount your TV? And you said, hot damn. I mean, essentially, that short was like really like for me, it was shocking to see like somebody actually wall mounted their TV to the point of like a, you didn't have a stud finder. B, you literally just he really just shot from the hip with that one and hit pipes, created a big water damage type situation. I mean, like, because a leak like that coming out of your wall is going to destroy all the drywall in the surrounding area. So that work's already got to get done. And then of course the whole house is flooded. And I think this is a part of the kind of like DIY culture that like social media kind of fosters. Some people see like an actual professional doing something and they get it in their head. I could take it. I could do it. It's no big deal. Why hire a pro? I got this. And then they start doing it themselves and not getting the same results. It's like you trying to bake a cake and wondering why yours is a little bit on the uglier side than somebody who's been doing it for like, 10, 15 years. It's like, and I think that's the problem with a lot of this stuff. But yeah, I can totally see what you're talking about with that kind of situation. What's going on, Craig? You said, hello, sir. What's your take on the Hisense U8H? Thank you. So with the Hisense U8H, I truly believe that it is one of the better TVs that has been made from Hisense. And as far as how it sits in the market competitively, there is not, and I'm not saying this like from an emotional standpoint, I'm saying this from a scientific standpoint. There is not a single LED television in its price range that can compete because, like, I've talked about this on many different occasions, how local dimming is basically a band-aid. And what ends up happening more often than not is companies are tricking a lot of people that don't know that this is a band-aid. So what they'll say is they'll go, okay, well, we've got, for example, mini LEDs at, 400 zones or whatever the case may be, which sounds impressive on paper, right? You can have 1,000 zones of mini LED local dimming, but you enter a problem when your zone count basically is not, well, how do you put this? It's not alleviating your native contrast, right? So if your native contrast, basically what your TV looks like without any local dimming, is crap. Like it has IPS blacks, you have a contrast ratio of like 1,000 to 1, 3,000 to 1. You're not going to have a great nighttime experience. You're going to see clouding, you're going to see hazing, that kind of thing. And the problem is what happens 9 times out of 10 is it'll hover over a bright object like a light bulb in the sky or something in the background, and then you're going to see haziness, and then people are going to be like, well, I think I got a defective unit, let me return and exchange it, not realizing that that's just what it is, the flavor of the day. And so with the U8H, it's so special because it doesn't do that. It has a naturally good native contrast. And when you compare the color gamut, you see that it's just a monster hitting numbers that the other guys just aren't hitting. I believe last time I measured it was like over 97 of the DCI-P3 color space, and the other guys are sitting at 95 still. And that's the part where it's like when you compare it, and those other guys are charging more money, so it's like you're at this point you're just charging me for your name, like the name brand of Sony or LG or Samsung or whatever the case may be. And for me, like that's where I kind of bow out and I'm like, look, I don't have patience for that. That's not my kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I think as far as my take on the Hisense U8H, I think if you want a good LED TV because you don't really want to go the OLED route, that's not really your thing, you're not feeling it, and you damn sure don't want to have to babysit anything, then you're definitely going to go the route of the Hisense U8H, save some money, and cash out because why the hell not, right? I mean, it's a good TV and it's the best LED TV of 2022. Now, that being said, I do not feel as though it will age as well as some other TVs, obviously, on the market, for example, have done in the past. And I'll give you an example of like, something like the Hisense U9, what is it? The H9G, I believe it is. That particular model, I think, was in a position to age a little bit better because it's full array, all that good stuff. But it's about in line with what we would expect with the quality. Mini LED is hard because like it's supposed to bridge the gap, if you will, between OLED and waiting for something more. It's more like hybrid, I guess, if you will, to come out, and it doesn't really give you the OLED viewing angles ever. So I think that's something that disappoints a lot of people because on center, dead center, yeah, sure, you have a great experience, but then off center, not so much. So I think that's the part that really kind of sucks for a lot of people. And it's going to happen like that sometimes. So I think that's really what I would say there. Now, shout out to our brand new member here, Emmanuel. I'm going to just say Emmanuel F. I don't want to destroy your name and butcher it and all that good stuff. Shout out to your brother. Thanks for being a VIP member. We've got Paul Hecker. What's going on, man? You said, "Hi Q. What's your personal vote for Game of the Year?" Honestly speaking, I don't really have, if I'm being very honest with you, I don't have time to game as much as some other people do. Like I was saying kind of earlier on, I'm working 16 hours, sometimes 20-hour days. Like I genuinely just do not have the time between managing this YouTube channel, my real job. I just don't have the time to put into endless hours of gaming. At most, maybe I can find maybe 6, 7 hours at best. You know, it's not totally a rarity, but it's not as common. So for game of the year, honestly, I'd say anything that relaxes me, anything that's fun that I could just pick up and I can just go with. And frankly, I don't have a whole lot of those. Right now, I think in circulation as far as games, I was just playing Dad of War casually because why not? It's a story driven game. I've kind of gravitated back to Ratchet and Clank. I mean, I haven't even beaten that because frankly, I just don't have time to, right? And I think a lot of people that like work full time jobs, real jobs, have this experience where it's like, you've got a big ass backlog of games that you got to go through and beat because we haven't beaten our games. And I was seeing some sort of statistic data where it was saying most of the players don't even get past like the first mission or whatever it is, and fewer people beat the bosses or even complete the game or something like that. And some there was some, I don't know where I seen it, but there was somebody talking about, there was a study linked to it saying that it's like a sign of depression and people are just looking essentially for that high, like the next thing to distract them for a moment, to lose themselves out of reality and then jump into the next thing. And then immediately I was like, that actually makes a ton of sense. I can see that because it's like a lot of people, especially now, dude, like inflation is really bad. I don't know if you've been to the grocery stores lately. The shit is expensive, right? And it's just only getting worse. And then of course there's everything else happening in the housing market and stuff like that. So I mean, these are things though, like, and I'm gonna say it. It sounds mean, but it's totally true. Like, if you are a younger person, like a younger adult living with your parents or a kid, you genuinely won't understand what we're talking about. We sound crazy. But as an adult that has to pay for everything, you probably already know what I'm saying. Like, this shit is rough. So for me, I don't have time for it. I mean, game of the year, I couldn't care less, right? I'm trying to sit here like, yo, dude, like, how are we gonna close the year strong? I want the quarter to end well. Like, I want my money good. Like that's my goal for my business, right? And then after that, then it's helping you guys, making sure members are happy, making sure I'm answering your questions. I'm doing market research to figure out what we're going to look forward to next, revamping my review process for next year, thinking like, okay, how are we going to reapproach this, repack it, and make it something that's easier to digest for everybody, that kind of thing. Like it's a bunch of multi-step processes in my life. And then if I have the time, carving out some time to kind of hang out with the family, relax, do my own thing. And that really, honestly, it's like family over video games 9 times out of 10. So yeah, no, I mean, honestly, don't have time. So game of the year, don't really care. Honestly, I don't have a horse in the race. But if I'm being honest, based off of the options that they gave us, they had Elden Ring, they had Horizon Forbidden West, Dad of War, and like a couple other ones that genuinely I don't even remember. I genuinely feel like Dad of War was more engaging, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so I feel like when I first started the game, it was boring as shit. Like I'll be just very open and honest about that. It was very boring because I got into it, and it was more or less just kind of like, okay, this is just slow. It's not really. I wanted like that drop you in action to maybe pick up from like the last game feeling too much like a slow paced movie. Well, this game kind of opened the same. Now, once you get into the mindset, like, okay, it's a slower paced movie, they're not going to tell an action packed story. Like, I would have loved a really fast paced action packed story. That would have been great. But they didn't do that. So it's like, all right, fine. And then it gets to the point where it's like it finally starts getting good, like midway through the game, like I was saying, and then you have a lot of fun with it, right? And then you find like you can have some really hard challenges that you get down the road, and it's great. But again, it's just kind of like, for me, the biggest thing is the inability to replay chapters is a big loss for all of these story driven games because you're telling a story. And if you're going to tell a story, let people pick the chapters, much like you would on a Blu ray disc, as to where you want the story to start. Because I tell you right now, people wouldn't buy movies if you had to sit there and fast forward through an entire movie before you got to a specific part that you liked in the movie. that's the beauty of movies. You can just start wherever you want. And games, story driven ones, especially having these long drawn out cutscenes for minutes at a time, it's really to the point where it's like a lot of people can't just get in there and just do what they want to do. They have to sit through the slowest crap and play it all over again. And the story plus mode doesn't really do anything to solve that. So that's my big thing here. But I do feel like it was more of an entertaining story. I was more immersed in the content. I did want to level up more. I wanted to get better at the game, to learn the combos, and to do more to get a little bit more advanced. And then, ultimately move on, which is great, but that's kind of like how I felt. It was easier to pick up, gave you just enough challenge, but not too much. Elden Ring, on the other hand, was an entirely different story. There's no breaking it in. There's no like ease in. You got to kind of have an idea as how Souls games work. You can't just approach the new franchise as like a new customer. That's like taboo. You learn like everybody else. You suffer, you die, live, die, repeat, and smile when you win. Like I don't have any appreciation for that. Like I was saying, hard challenges in life will do that to a person. Somebody who has an easier life, who doesn't maybe have so much bullshit to deal with, they're not going to care. They're going to be, oh gosh, you're giving me a challenge. I live a boring life. Fantastic. So I think that's the thing that for me, like I just don't have any tolerance for. Like people who have it easy, again, and I say this, like you have it easy, or you're somebody that genuinely wants 24/7 life to be on hard mode. You like Elden Ring. Like I genuinely just don't. So that's my whole thing there. So very long way of explaining it, but there you go. We've got hey Quantum, do you still use the M Classic for gaming consoles? Man, you've been watching for a minute to remember my M Classic review. Yeah, I actually still use the M Classic. Funny story, like I genuinely can't even turn on the Nintendo Switch without using the M Classic because of how bad it looks. So every time I'm using my Wii U, my Nintendo Switch, my Xbox 360, my PS3, my PS2, all those classic, more classic-esque, if you will. They're not really classic, but nowadays it's considered classic. Just the older consoles. Yeah, I'm always using the M Classic. It's an excellent way of cleaning things up, but it's not the in all to be all like emulation type deals. Which again, I always say for everybody, if you can get a really beast kick-ass PC, freaking rip your game files to ISO files and literally emulate. Have fun with it. It's totally worth it to learn how to do that. What's going on, Alex? Axel? Sorry, I butchered your name. There are two Axels. We have Axel Shadow and Axel Lopez. All right, so we have what's the best budget gaming TV for Xbox Series X and PS5? Thank you for all you do, always being honest. No worries there, man. I appreciate the support as far as, appreciating the honesty. And as far as the best, it's going to depend on you. So like if you're somebody that like tends to fall asleep during your gaming sessions, or you're somebody that's more prone to walking away and coming back a little longer than usual, you're probably not going to want to use something like an OLED. So maybe something like the Hisense U8H might be better for you. The U8G, if you can still find it. Then, of course, price matters. That's always a factor here as well. You might, at that point, maybe want to look at something like a TCL S546 if you can still find it. Don't go with the new model. The Roku models are garbage. They just aren't good. Now, I did have a guy this week come onto the channel in the comments and say, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I disagree. I'm coming from an Element. And at that point, I just had to be frank with him and be like, dude, like, you're coming from, like, the worst tier television practically you could buy. A toaster would have impressed you. Like, that's, like, facts. Because at the end of the day, those Emerson TVs are not anywhere close to what the technology now is capable of. And again, we're not talking about you need to be some rich elitist asshole, some pompous jerk. Like, I'm talking like for 300, 400 bucks, you can get yourself a quantum dot television. So like times are out for that being seen as some sort of like really high end barrier thing. It's very common now. And I think for people, again, into the TV market, you don't even need to be rich or even remotely close to it to get that and enjoy it. So I think that's also very cool for the market. But yeah, as far as the best TV, I mean, for me personally, I'm rocking with the Samsung S95B. That's the best TV for PS5 and Xbox Series X. For me, point blank period. Then I would say the LG C1. So after that, the Hisense U8G, and those would be my top three that I would use for gaming. Arturo, what's going on? You said, good evening, Mr. Quantum. What's going on, man? We've got, I'm going to mess up your name. I always mess up your name. Diego C? I think that's how you say it. Is that how you say it? I think so. Yeah, Diego C12. You said, Quantum, which TVs do you think has the best clarity, sharpness in parentheses on the market. Well, I think the Samsung S95B really surprised me with the sharpness, like the clarity, the isolation, the tight lines, all of it. Very, very impressive stuff. I think, though, it gets tough, though, because the G series was fucking really sharp, man. Like, the G2 was just out of this world as far as clarity. It was like looking at a crystal with how just tack sharp it is. But the S95B was just a hair sharper. But, I mean, they were very identical in that regard. So, I think the thing that would shift it though for people is the quantum dot and the extra brightness on the Samsung S95B versus the G2. Now I know people have been saying like the G2 is just brighter. That's not the case. I've tested it and seen all this stuff, and yeah, but yeah, it's one of those things where the clearest, the sharpest that I've seen is the S95B coming in at 1499. I think these days actually 1447 for just the 55-inch, which is an excellent deal. Frankly, I think you couldn't get any better, really. So we've got Paul. What's going on? You said, thanks for answering my question. I have the same issue as you, always busy with work, and I have a big back catalog. Yeah, and I think that's the thing for me too, is like being somebody who is, a working class citizen, like many of you guys watching right now. It's like gaming is cute, gaming is fun, but like ultimately, if you've got something to do with the kids, you've got something to do with the wife, you've got work, you've got life. You don't have time to sit there and beat every game. So I think for me, the most important thing, I think, and then again, with the Elden Ring gamers that like try to troll or whatever from time to time, and from me, I think the biggest disconnect is like I am an adult and I do have responsibilities outside of YouTube and outside of video games and all this other stuff. So people, when they hear that, they just sometimes when they don't have those things, it's a disconnect for them. They're like, what do you mean you're busy with other stuff? I mean, isn't this your life? Don't you identify with this piece of plastic? Isn't this your total identity? You're an Xbox gamer, you're a PS gamer, like that's all we do. But like in the real world, like some of us have more important things to worry about, like how we're going to survive inflation and this unspoken recession. Like let's call it what it is. Like that's the real world. And so that's where I live. I don't live in this imaginary plane or like one of these like silver spoon brats that are handed everything, everything's life on easy mode. Not me either. So I think again, that's the part where a lot of us don't see eye to eye. But yeah, it's like it is what it is for sure. The back catalog of games, hell, I mean, I would say most of my games probably aren't beaten because I'm busy 90% of the time. It's like I have to ask myself, do I want to stay in bed and play PlayStation or do I want to go get this money? And you guys already know, 9 times out of 10, it's get this money. So that's what it is. Not to say you don't have a couple of bad days where you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to have a me day and it's self care day. But then you got to go back in and you've got to make up for what you lost the day you were just kind of goofing off. So that's kind of how it is sometimes. All right, Camden, you said I thought Elden Ring was more engaging story wise. I wanted I wanted to know why the world got to where it was. You said Dad of War was really boring for me, and then you said I not finishing the rest of that, but I imagine it's something else that we'll see later on. I mean, listen, if you have fun with Elden Ring, I genuinely like don't care. I think it's a good thing that people are happy with it. I think for me the biggest problem with the games, I think I could sum it down to maybe three or four things. I don't know. I think the biggest thing is the way the devs built the game. It's not inclusive to new players. So, new players are basically treated like scrubs that need to hashtag get good. You've got a bunch of little 9-year-olds running around on the internet, 16-year-olds, get good, scrub, get good, scrub. It's like, kid, I have a fucking life. I'm not going to sit there and get good. I'm going to fucking make my money. And if I can't unwind on this game, I'm just going to return it and call it trash because that's just how it is. So I think that's the first problem. The second problem with Elden Ring, I think, is the graphics. For me personally, people like the art style, great, you can enjoy it. But I think there's a big dated look to it where it doesn't look totally next gen. It should have looked more like Unreal Engine 5 type stuff. That's just me. Now, it's an open world game. People will have their opinions about that all day, every day. And by all means, that's your welcoming to do so. And I have mine. And as far as the frame rates, I think they're unacceptable. I think really the thing that made it truly unplayable is how jarring it is when you're playing this on console. It's not fun at all. And then the last thing, obviously, is how you're not really eased into the scenario of, hey, this is a really hard game. It's like, no, this is a live, die, repeat simulator. Like, facts, that's what you do. And that's the whole premise of the game. Level up and get good. It's like, okay, well, I'm not a part of that culture of like level up and get good unless the game gives me an incentive, right? For example, Mortal Kombat 11. I had an incentive to get good. There was an easier difficulty. There was a robust tutorial. I could learn combos and I can get in there and get myself up to get ranked really nicely, I'd like to say. in the Mortal Kombat towers. I think at one point I was in like the zero point 0.9 or 0.5% of players. Got really freaking monstrous, especially with Katana. Like, it's a lot of fun. Shiba, my main character, destroying people, getting rage quits. I remember doing a video, back with my AAG, how I got a rage quit on, PC, which they're known for using all kinds of peripherals. And I'm just sitting there on a TV I was outside of game mode. And I'm just like, because everybody was talking about input lag is so crazy you couldn't do anything with it. And I'm getting rage quits online in MK11 against really good players. So it was one of those things where it was just like, it's sometimes the skill you want to put into a game and learn, you do it after the fact and stuff like that. And it has to be digestible. I think that's the big thing there. So, uh, we've got Paul. You said one of Dad of War's writers, Anthony Birch, said he thinks the first game had a better story, but thinks the second game had better gameplay. Yeah, I think for me, what really would have made this game, right, Dad of War, truly special, like, because if you watch my review, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I did say I still think it's the game of the year out of all the other games, and that wasn't a compliment because this year was weak on games, because, again, they're using every excuse in the book, from the pandemic to inflation to chip shortages, everything. It's excuse central right now, right? But even with that, I think what would have made it better is if they would have opened with, like, you know, giving you more of a story that is action based. Like, you are playing about a story about somebody who's a destroyer that literally is learning how to love again, which is fine and all. But I think the tender moments need to come, like, spliced in between, because it's an immature game. If we wanted a tender, loving story about a daddy and his son, we would have bought an E for Everyone game. So that you're already appealing to the wrong demographic. And honestly, if you ask me, I think that probably played a lot into why the game didn't win Game of the Year. Because again, it's an immature game. You're not coming out with the most gory, most violent, most brutal takedowns you could possibly imagine. Like, we want some crazy stuff. So I think ultimately, also the fact that you can't do new things. Like, why doesn't he have a sword? Right? Kratos should have a sword like in some of the older games. That would be fun. Bring back some of the older characters, like, in some Earth 2 parallel universe, like he thought he killed somebody and he actually didn't. That'd be really wild. Everybody would be like, whoa, what's happening? Right? There were no twists and turns in the story that really shock players. And I think that ultimately led to it just kind of being like yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it's definitely like one of the better games this year, for sure. And a game, kind of desert where there's not a whole lot and you have to really cherry pick what you get. But it is what it is. We've got Axel. You said, thank you, sir. No problem. We've got Doc. What's going on, man? You said, not gonna lie, bro. The amount of hate you get for voicing your opinion is insane. You said, the little hate I get motivates me. I mean, I can respect that 100% for sure. You say, I assume it's the same for you, or are you tired of it? Frankly, I'm not gonna lie. Like, in the beginning, like when I first started Elden Ring and I was playing it, I was like, all right, cool, I'll give this game a chance, why not? It was hard, and I was like, man, this game kind of sucks. And then once I saw it was a bunch of 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 25-year-olds, like, oh, get good, scrub. I was like, okay, I see what this is. This is a bunch of kids living with their parents. This is what they do to challenge themselves outside of taking out the trash. I mean, really, they don't live a life of challenge or adversity. So for them, they seek it in video games. I'm telling you right now, grown men like us are not seeking adversity. We want a life. We want to hang out and relax and recuperate a little bit from the ruthless world that, you know what it is. People don't like men. They treat us like garbage. So we have to work for everything we have. And the last thing I want to do is work even harder when the world already made it harder for us. So that's just kind of how I feel. And that's just being like candid, breaking the fourth wall with you. Just, you know what I mean? As far as being sick of the hate, I mean, anybody could get tired of it. But I think, honestly, what benefits and motivates me, like, they genuinely don't understand. It gets to a point where I have to, like, as a YouTuber who's running a channel, be like, okay, how can we spin this to make the channel profitable? I'm going to farm this shit at this point, because they're never going to stop coming and ratioing my videos. But what they don't understand is every dislike turns into a view and engagement. So now I've got two things off of them. I got click-through rate and guaranteed viewership. That matters more to YouTube than that dislike that they hid. YouTube did away with the feature. They couldn't care less that you're triggered. But see, now I'm benefiting. So, like, it got to a point where I would just, like, troll them, and I would say things because I know they're going to make a video, and I would do it just to piss them off. Like, why not? And so that's kind of like my thought process. And hey, I'm not going to lie. on some of the months it was great. I mean, it helped the channel a lot. I was able to make changes better for our regular audience here with the extra money that we got in, and it helped fund the channel. So by using my haters, I actually turn their hatred into capital, and I think that's the smartest way anybody should go about it. And even now, I'm still doing it, still to this day. This whole live stream, I already know what they're gonna do. They're gonna make little clips. They're gonna make videos. People are gonna come in, and I'm gonna be sitting here like, bro, I'm gonna get paid off of you, and you're gonna sit here. And the best part about it, I can admit this on camera, and nothing would possibly change because they can't resist the hatred that they have for people that don't like Elden Ring. They have to make videos. They have to trash their takes. They have to be what they are. They have to live stream it on Twitch. They cannot help themselves. They think like they're making money off of me, not realizing I've done pretty well off of them. I won't give numbers, not necessary. But I love like saying that out loud because it's like the ultimate checkmate, bro. Like you turn your haters against you or against themselves rather, and it's just like it's a beautiful thing to see. And it gets to a point where it stops being stressful, right? You stop getting tired of it and you start being amused by it. Or as I like to say, thoroughly tickled by it because they don't understand. They genuinely think they've got you. And some like, aha, got you moment. He has a bad take here. Like, I literally made a video, like my review of Dad of War. They lied about it. They said I gave it a 0 out of a 10. Some of these people completely making false statements. But what that did was inspire people who were watching those bad takes on my review. Come on over, start trying to see something. And then they're like, well, he actually gave it an 8 out of 10. Well, crap. But what did that do? That boosted my views, which of course profit in my pocket. That's how it works. Again, engagement is what every YouTuber is after, and ultimately, if you can get the fans to engage, that's what it's all about. You have to be clever and strategic. And I don't think they've kind of gathered how cunning and manipulative towards them, particularly, that I can be. And so for them, all day, every day, they'll get the worst of me all day, every day. Now, people like Axel, which thank you, brother, for joining, becoming a member. I appreciate it. You know, who joined, become the membership, get access to the settings, hang out, are a part of the actual community that we run here. By all means, every day, like we have fun and we do what we do because that's just how it is. But yeah, so that's just kind of what I'll say there. We've got a question coming in from Paul. You said I should have disconnect my Wi-Fi or disconnected from Wi-Fi. I have nobody to blame but myself. You warned us. Yeah, I mean, but like you shouldn't have to do that though, you know? And that's why I'm on the front lines of this thing where really I like to give public awareness about like do not update your TV and I'll take the hit, right? I'll be very honest with all of you. You think I'm happy with 1420? I'm pissed off. I'm not going to lie. My motion is so bad now, and it wasn't on 1310. It got worse. So it's something that I have to deal with. Now, again, we can play devil's advocate all day, every day, and be like, well, maybe it's an isolated incident like they like to claim on their little disclaimers or whatever when they try to tell you everything's fine. But this has happened to me over the course of like many years of reviewing televisions where I'll do an update and it's worse. And this is consecutive across pretty much every brand, regardless of anything. So I think it's not so much that you as the consumer shouldn't have done something. Like, don't do that to yourself. Don't sit there like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. I'm the bad guy. Only if I would have listened or I wouldn't have done it. They should have made a product worth a damn. And it is so very unfortunate that as consumers, we've got to fight and defend ourselves. We've got to like literally warn each other about it. And again, I don't have the same kind of sway as somebody like Vincent Teo. Otherwise, I'd be calling them out at the press conferences. I'd be like, yo, listen, why are your updates making TVs do this, that, and the third? Here's video proof of this so you know it's not an unsubstantiated claim. Can you speak to this? But there's no money in grilling these people. And these presidents and executives that give these interviews, there's no incentive to make products that actually last forever. And I think getting the consumer to understand that and recognize there is no such thing as a forever product, I think that's the hard thing. And you sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist at first, but then look what's happening every time we say that word. Look at what's happening right now with Twitter. If you don't know, I won't say it on YouTube. You can look it up. But basically, everybody who thought shadow banning was real and all the news stations were like, oh, that's a lie. Like, you kind of see, like, it's not, though. Like, it's being whistleblown right now on the news. Like, that's the kind of stuff that we stay talking about, though. Like, and seeing it in real time, though, it's like, this is what I try to do in the TV world. I'm like, yo, listen. There's a problem, and it's these updates. So again, you're not the problem, bro. It's these updates, and only through community forums on their website, on the Samsung help pages, on Reddit, on YouTube, like conversations like this, open dialogues where people are sharing their experiences and talking about, hey, I shouldn't have updated. Like talk about this openly with people and get enough people moving towards Samsung to try to get something to change. Without that, they're going to keep doing it, and we're going to keep getting bad updates. And that's the part where even when you get a bad update, you have to now ask yourself, is it worth it to buy? And it gets so hard because we only have a handful of manufacturers that it's like, okay, well, essentially, I've only got a handful of choices. If I buy from this brand that screwed me over, I'm going to be salty, but I can easily have the same experience because they're using comps. So essentially, if their neighbor does it, they're going to do it too. And what are you going to do about it as the guy in between? We're too small to fight multi-billion-dollar corporations. Samsung's CEO is so big he can literally be in prison and get out because he's important to the Korean economy. What the hell choice do we have but to comply and deal with whatever they do? So trust me when I tell you, like you are not the problem in this ordeal. It's just shady dealings, and you have to kind of protect yourself how you can. Fortunately, though, you follow me, and I took one for the team, so you kind of already know what's up. We've got Diego. What's going on? You said something that surprises me about the Game Awards is that no one has remembered Horizon Forbidden West. The game didn't win any awards for how much the reviewers inflated it. And I think this kind of goes back to initially what I was saying about Horizon Forbidden West when I was playing it. Like, it's okay, but like it's like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. It was a very anticlimactic story. I got a lot of shit for it. People wanted to say it was a bad take, but look at what happened. It didn't get anything. Nobody cared about Horizon Forbidden West because it's boring. It is truly a boring game. Can you have fun in it? Yes. But honestly, and there were moments where it felt like a direct copy and paste or at least ripoff of Zelda Breath in the Wild. Because that whole parachute mechanic, we saw that in Zelda Breath in the Wild. Like, you can't tell me they didn't see that and say, oh, that's good. Let's do that in the next Horizon game. Like, you know what I mean? And I just feel like they should have done a lot more to make things more unique to them and their game and their franchise, but in a very exciting way. Like, I don't know, do we really need an Aloy clone? Are we really so fresh out of ideas we're getting the clones? I mean, that's, you know what I mean? It's kind of lame. And the ending was very trash, in my opinion. Like, it didn't really end in a way that made you feel the power of that ending. And I think that's the hardest thing. You always want to leave an impression on somebody when you stop a game, and Horizon just did not do that. So, I don't know. It's one of those kind of situations where they kind of did it to themselves, in my opinion, for sure. Hi Q, could you share the best TV for PC and gaming, 55-inch or smaller, $600, sub $600? Okay, so we're keeping it under 600, and considering the MQX U7H and X85K. Well, your best bet would not be the U7H. I don't really recommend that model. That model has some haziness to it. It was a very pain in the ass to calibrate. I did not like it at all. I would say, honestly, it's kind of tough. It really depends on what kind of PC gamer you are. Because, like, if you're somebody that's looking to go like 120 FPS and all that stuff, you're kind of almost guaranteeingly going to be locked into that $1,000 price range. Sub that, you definitely can look at something like the Hisense what is it? The U8G you can find sometimes on sale for the 55-inch, but I think mostly I mean, you're going to have to compromise somewhere for sure because there's not a lot of options that you have. I don't recommend Vizios. They're extremely glitchy TVs, and I don't say that like from a grudgeful standpoint. Like, genuinely, the menu interface is very buggy. You'll have audio cutouts, you'll have HDMI dropouts, you'll all kinds of problems that just you should not have. So Vizio, I don't recommend. Sony, I mean, if you have to, maybe you can go the route of Sony, but I still, if you want better picture quality, you're not really going to get that. So I would say compromise on FPS. Like, if you know every game that you play, you're not trying to get to run like 120 FPS. Don't even care about 120 FPS. Like, don't even buy for that reason. If you know for a fact that like you just want stable frame rates, like for me, I buy TVs based on the capability to do 1440, 60, and of course, my PC does ultra max textures, max resolution, everything as far as like, upscaling and all that shit. I make sure that everything is locked in on my PC. So 1440, and then the TV can upscale it. And I go off of TVs that can handle upscaling great because every TV basically upscales quad HD to basically 4K. Like, they all do that. So you want to strategically pick a TV that can handle that increase. So basically, you're gaming at technically 4K, but not really. It's a cheat way of doing it, but that's kind of how I like to do it. But I would say honestly, the TCL S546 is one of the best budget TVs that you can get. I think again, if you can compromise on that frame rate, for sure. And Doc says facts LMAO for sure. You said Real tech question. Okay, no problem. You said, in what scenario would you choose a TV? Would you choose a TV versus a gaming monitor for gaming? So in this scenario, I'll actually add another layer to this to make it more beneficial. So for example, for me, I would use a TV over a gaming monitor and my actual use case. I'm the kind of gamer that likes to have a keyboard wirelessly set up with a built in trackpad, and I do all my operation that way, setting up the game and opening big screen mode or whatever through Steam or whatever. And then I'm sitting in the back with a wireless controller, PC gaming. So I have all the benefits of, 60 FPS, ultra textures, mods, all that cool shit, but I have it with my controllers in my hand. Like that's literally the only way I play PC. I don't use mouse, keyboard, none of that nonsense. But again, in the context, I'd say reverse. The reason I like a TV is because I can get a bigger, more immersive screen, and TV technology is light years, it seems, ahead of where we are in the monitor space. I mean, if you were to buy a quantum dot OLED monitor, I mean, a 42-inch OLED monitor right now, just for, comparables, okay, is going to run you over $3,000 from LG. I think their newest one they had is like a flex monitor. It curves. That's going to run you over freaking $3,000. You can buy a 65-inch Sony A95K for that. And that's not even a great TV, but if you want like the most expensive QD OLED, premier flagship OLED technology on the market today, you can buy that for the amount of money that stupid 42-inch that doesn't even have quantum dots in it will charge. That's my point. So monitors are grossly overpriced, and 9 times out of 10, if you have a monitor, it's IPS garbage. You're gonna have hazy gray black with a contrast ratio of maybe like 1,000 to 1 or something like really not as great. And I think that's where I would be turned off to it. Now I can see the benefit of people who like to use big monitors and things like that. Sit back, do like maybe a building simulator. People who play like I don't know, building sims. I think that is where the keyboard and mouse is helpful. Maybe some other kind of RPG type games. But for the most part, I like to sit back and hopefully that kind of helps a little bit with that question. Shout out to Handicart Mexican. I thank you for your rejoining here. 14-month members. You said, hey, yo, let's make it 2 years. I appreciate that a ton, brother. And I do thank you a ton for all of the help that you've been giving, holding down the Discord in my absence. I mean, like I've got like a lot of stuff that I deal with on the back end. I'm very busy and I don't always have time to answer a lot of the Discord questions, which is why I open things up in a live form here. So I really do appreciate you holding down the fort and kind of doing that. So really, seriously, thank you for that. And again, I appreciate you being a member for long term. We've got Craig. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by tonight, Craig. I appreciate you being active on every video as well. You're a superstar here. We need security in the gaming awards. Don't you agree, Mr. Quantum? I mean, come on. Obviously, bro, like bro, I don't care what anyone says. The fact that a stranger was able to walk down the aisle, there were celebrities there, okay? You had Reggie there, you had Phil Spencer there. This kid was able to walk past everybody there, okay? Net worths in that building easily over several $billion combined, right? Okay, this kid's walking down, no pat down, no checks. Like, how would you know if he's not storing something or he's not, doing something sketchy, right? And the fact that there was no security is scary because he just literally walked on stage with the developers. Like, you don't know if he could have gotten a pin, right? Just like a basic pen for signing autographs, okay? I know I shouldn't have to explain that, but I'm just being very dramatic here. He could have, like, literally stabbed these people on stage with a pen, and it would have been a big tragedy at the Game Awards because of their lax security. Like, he just walked by everyone. So I think either that was staged or somebody seriously needs to be fired because that was a massive breach of security at that award ceremony because there's no fucking way. Like, there's just no way. And then, like, he got arrested, I saw afterwards, but, like, who risks their freedom to get up there and say Bill Clinton? Like, that is the dumbest shit. But he was a kid, of course. And so I guess maybe he's just living for the moment, but that's just, like, the dumbest thing I think ever. Like, why would you risk your freedom for dumb shit like that? I don't know. We've got I like how Kratos's VA was unintentionally helping people win Steam because of that long speech. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like I just have no respect when they start filibustering, or when they start damningly showing all the movie trailers that they did to try to plug the new Mario movie that everybody knows is going to flop. Nobody really is feeling it like all that. And then it's like if you're not doing that, you're showing TV shows or whatever. And then there were a lot of adverts for like inclusivity in gaming and things like that. And it's like, okay, but like there is a time and a place, in my opinion, for these kinds of things. And that wasn't it. Like, we don't need reminders of your latest film. We don't need your, you know what, PUBG. Like we don't need like all your Grubhub download this, do this. Like, stop with the plugs. I know sponsors pay the bills for a lot of the stuff at those events, but it just gets to a point where it's distasteful. It's like, at least make it somewhat palatable. There was just so many ads. It was like adware, adware and CGI trailers. That's really all it was. And if I had to rank that press conference, I would literally give it a failing grade for that alone. You do not have movies and TV shows show up at a game awards event. Like, that is a bad idea. We are gamers looking for gaming news, gaming advice, gaming things, something cool. I don't know. But if you're going to do an ad, I feel like it had better be gaming related at the very least. Like, oh, look at this brand new motherboard or PC or like graphics card, something. Like, I don't know. That's maybe just a me thing, but I feel like a lot of people were maybe tired of all the ads for sure. We've got. I think every TV should have the option to roll back previous update. They should, I really do, but unfortunately, there's no money in that because, and that kind of lets you know right there, right? You made a very good point. You think every TV should have the ability to roll back these firmware, but like that's kind of the point. Like, if they could roll back the firmware, there'd be no incentive for people to upgrade to a newer TV because they wouldn't have the ability to go in and digitally alter something, give you some vague ass patch note. They'll say something along the lines of, well, it's a general update fix or general patch. That's all it is. Or some cases, it just says patch notes not provided by the, manufacturer or whatever. And so you don't know what you're getting. It's like a box of chocolate, right? From Forrest Gump. Life's like a box of chocolates. Never know what you get, that thing. Yeah, it's like that. And I don't see a lot of people signing up for that. So sadly, yeah, they're not ever going to let us roll those things back. Quantum's problem with the Steam Deck is ongoing. Uh, Not really. I actually figured out what's going on with the Steam Deck. So, long story short, it was some sort of weird software bug. I don't know what the fuck happened. I was just gaming and then it just happened. And I'm sitting here like, okay, this is stupid. So, it got to the point where I had it turned off, I think for like 3 or 4 days, randomly turned it back on and it went away. So I was like, okay, cool. I've been trying to replicate it ever since, and then I could not replicate it after that. So I was like, all right, I guess we're good. I guess we're out of the water then. I tried to contact Steam about it, but they said it just seems like an issue. And then in those cases, the best thing that you should do is basically, the power reset and all that bullshit. The typical intelligence insulting troubleshooting steps that you have already done yourself, but you reached out to them to see if there was something more they could do for you. Yeah, that. So it was really just powered off and power back on, but I had it off. Now, the first time it did happen, I did turn it off and turn it back on, and it still persisted. So I don't know what would make it randomly just turn off. Like, I don't know. Like, is there something like that clears or resets in the memory when it's off? I don't know. But I'm glad that it's done screwing me over, so to speak, because now I'm able to enjoy my Steam Deck, which I have actually been able to do through Proton GE, Vibrant Deck, and a couple of other plugins that I have. Just having fun on Emulation Station a lot. It's fun, but I still do have the complaints that I have as far as, screen not being the best and some other issues. But for the most part, I kind of wanted the challenge back, and it's something like, again, like I told you guys, I don't always have time to do a lot of the gaming stuff that I would on my bigger rig, on all my bigger PCs, on my nice TVs and stuff. I'm away a lot. I do a lot of work. So it's like when I come back, it's usually late. And sometimes when you're on a break or there's like a lull period between you and somebody else needing to get some paperwork or something, it's a whole thing. But the whole point is, it's like it's fun, and I'm enjoying it now, so that's good. Now we have a question from. Oh, we need to. Oh yeah, I already answered that one. Handicart Mexican, you say got you fam. Appreciate it. We've got Lewis. You said Dolby Vision gaming on the C1. I don't really do the Dolby Vision gaming thing. I think honestly HDR is a major scam and a flop because literally no TV now is still being sold on that. Everything is about AI. I guarantee you, bro, like, hey, mark this down on your calendar. I'm calling it now. All they're going to do next year at CES is tell you how much brighter they got OLEDs. oh, we got it 30% brighter, or we got it 20% brighter. Like, they're not talking about anything outside of AI and making things brighter. And the color technology that like they're talking about, like, oh, we've found a way, like even like LG, to stabilize blue phosphor. It's like, okay, that's cute and everything, but we need more than brightness. We need solid tone mapping. We need cool features to return, like HDR effect, like we used to have on the C10 and older series televisions. And it just, well, not just the C series, but you get what I mean. Older modeled televisions. We're just losing a lot, and we're not really gaining a whole lot, and it's moving towards more automation for no reason. So that for me just kind of sucks. But no, I don't do the Dolby Vision gaming thing. I kind of pass on that. I think HDR10 is more than enough. It's more vibrant 9 times out of 10 than Dolby Vision anyway. Even though people say, like, oh, Dolby Vision has wider color, yeah, but you don't really see it because you need a lot of brightness. And I think that does play a role into why they're trying to get TVs brighter. But ultimately speaking, you need more than that. There's so much more than that. There are tons of issues that a ton of users have that they aren't kind of addressing. So, uh, Genshin Impact winning player's choice. Yeah, a lot of people were pretty upset about that. I've actually never played Genshin Impact, so I wouldn't know how bad or good the game is or isn't. One tip I took from listening to Q on his channel: it's sometimes better to watch stuff in SDR than HDR. Toned off, where you get washed out looking colors, it looks worse. Yeah, I mean, listen, if there's a particular movie or adaptation of a game that does HDR amazing, enjoy it if you like it and prefer it. But for me, the hassle of having to switch and toggle off between the two is just not worth it for me. When I know for a fact every time I turn on my SDR picture with my settings, it is gonna slap hard. And so for that, like, I enjoy it way better than I do HDR. HDR is such a toss up, and I personally, now you can sound off in the comments and let me know, but like, I absolutely hate when I'm sitting there and I'm watching a movie on 4K Blu-ray, and I pull up the menu to skip chapters and it's pale and washed out because they didn't have the decency to adapt the menu into HDR, so it's still in SDR. And then, of course, it's a different gamma curve and everything's thrown off and everything's washed out and looking wrong because it is wrong. It's just like, at that point, it's just like I lose patience with it when it doesn't happen on the SDR version. So that's my thing. Joseph Riviera, what's up, man? Thanks for stopping by tonight. Thank you for being a member for over a year here. You have LG C1. How often should the pixel cleaning function be used? Can it be ran? Uh, can it be ran too much? I would never touch the pixel cleaning thing ever, right? The pixel refresher should only be used in the instances where you know you need to use it, like you have an issue with prolonged image retention or something like that and you're trying to fix it. It does an automatic reset, I think, after like 2,000 hours or something like that. I can't remember which. They've changed it recently, so it could be after like 1,000 hours. It could be like after 500. I don't remember. They do their own reset, so that's the thing you have to keep in mind. Since my S95B unfortunately auto updated to 1420, when do you think you'll be able to? Uh, what do you think? I'm sorry. When do you think? Hold on, let me see it. When do you think you will be able to upload the new settings? Oh, the new settings should be uploaded within the next couple of days here. They're done. They're sitting on an SD card. It's really just finding the time to put it up and get it out. I've already done the video, but again, it's like after I finish this live stream, then I've got other things that I've got to do outside of just YouTube, which sucks for me. But I will get those settings out to you guys since I actually finished them. I'll try to upload it tonight. Don't hold me on that. If not tonight, they should be up tomorrow. But yeah, it's done, so it'll go up relatively soon for sure. Um, for the C1, do you have color settings for while watching regular cable? I mean, I wouldn't say I have cable specific, but I do have a ton of settings that I've built off of live TV, if that makes sense, like using Hulu Live and things like that. So I would say yes and no. It really just does depend, but definitely check out the LG C1 playlist to all the new members and everybody who it just is a member in general. Like, there's a lot of useful stuff there, and I've categorized it by TV model and TV brand, so like you don't have to sit there and scour for too long. You can find exactly what you need and get everything kind of knocked out. So hopefully that helps there. I'm getting ready to wrap up the live stream here. So I'm just going to answer a couple of different statements here. Handycart says, uh, yeah, they will get you every time, although the Hisense hasn't done it to me yet. Yeah, definitely lucky with that. So I definitely appreciate somebody talking about the update issues for sure. Thoughts on the 42-inch LG C2 panel having a vibe panel? The vibe panel, not having the vibe panel. I don't know. I don't know what the vibe panel is. You said I purchased it for 999. What do you think of the price? I mean, I think you overpaid for a 42-inch. If I'm being honest with you, I mean that shouldn't cost that much money, especially for a 42-inch. That's not a whole lot of screen size, but it is a C2, so I guess it just depends if that's the size you were actually aiming for. Very dull Game Awards indeed. Yeah, I was pretty bored the entire time. Think they could have done better. And all right, so I'll just kind of summarize it and kind of like end on this note. As far as, our weekly AV stuff, we've got a lot of kind of movements happening. Samsung is reportedly going QD OLED big time well into 2024. So the beta test has been very successful with the S95B. So we can only anticipate they might actually come out with some official QD OLED moniker or some new gimmicky name they'll call it. We know, like, they love their names. The Wall, QNED, SUHD. Like, they've always had these weird names. So there's no doubt a weird name is coming for their OLED line. But we'll see what that is as time goes on. But the big thing here is now this is it. This is like the precipice. It's QD OLED or bust, right? And that's kind of like what I've seen the trend kind of moving towards more and more and more. Shout out to Mali Zion. I don't know Zion. I hope I said that right. Thank you for becoming a new member. Welcome to the VIP family. If you need settings, you can find settings in the settings playlist. The TV settings playlist will have everything in the collection there. And again, welcome to the VIP family. And moving on to the second part of the live stream, what we were talking about as far as the Game Awards. I think honestly speaking, I don't care who won either way. I'm kind of a busy man. I don't really, I don't have a horse in the race outside of Forza. I'll be very clear about that. I am extremely salty. Forza did not have a chance to win. No way in hell the people actually thought Gran Turismo 7 beats Forza 5. Like, how is that even? Not even close. Nobody liked Forza. I mean, Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo. Everybody was so angry with the way the Gran Turismo was handled, and the fact that like that was just brushed under the rug and it could get a Game of the Year award kind of lets me know the Game of the Year award is rigged a little bit. I kind of feel that now, just a little bit, at least in that aspect, because there's no other way. People literally hated that game and it still won game of best racing game of the year. It's total bullshit. I'm sure it's just whoever pays the most, but whatever. I'll digress. I'm very salty about that. That was my only horse in the race. But as far as Elden Ring and Dad of War and all that other stuff, I couldn't care less. Those aren't my main bread and butter games. I'm a family man playing family games with my family, so I couldn't care less. But either way, to whoever won and whoever has fun with it, enjoy your games, have fun with all that good stuff. Of course, as time goes on, I'll be doing more reviews on more stuff and things like that. And if you have questions about things throughout the week, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below. We can have a good chat. We can have fun. Live streams like this, I usually try to hold every Friday, 7 p.m. through 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as a way of kind of decompressing the comment section. I know sometimes it's kind of hard to get seen. Sometimes some people will ask the same question over and over again. Trust me, I'm not ignoring you. I do try to get to everybody, but again, through real life and this, it's kind of hard to get to everybody. So, again, I do apologize if you've been unseen and you've had a really big question. I'll do what I can to try to help. I do have a Discord. Shout out again to Handicart Mexican. You are holding it down over there, really helping everybody, banning the people who don't belong there, just doing a great job. So, I definitely appreciate all of your hard work and what you're doing for me, brother. So, thank you for that. And last statement of the night, Paul, you said totally agreed, Quantum. There's no universe where GT7 is a better game. Yeah, I mean, every reviewer that I've kind of run into and everybody who's been honest about it, like, they were not thrilled with GT7. It was just one of those things where, like, why not give Forza its proper credit? I don't know who Xbox pissed off, but clearly I mean, like, now, again, not to be racist. People are going to see this as a racist comment. Totally not. But it feels like there was a Japanese bias here. I feel like Sony games and like Bandai Namco games kind of got a little bit more of a favoritism than they should have gotten. I mean, I don't know why Xbox didn't really get as much attention as it should have. You can't tell me they didn't have anything of value when Forza was the dead ringer for the best racing game. Like, it was a ton of fun. I mean, bro, the world alone was gorgeous. The fact that we were in Mexico and it was open and expansive and it just, the draw distances were beautiful. Like, it was a true, really good next gen game that they just crapped all over everybody who I don't understand it. I just hate it. But that's just me being salty because in the end, it doesn't really matter. The end result, GT7 wins and Forza lost because it didn't even get a shot, which I think like that's such bullshit, but whatever. I'm going to be salty about it. But either way, I want to thank you guys for watching this particular live stream, hanging out with me, talking about the Game Awards, doing your thing, and all that good fun stuff. Again, you can stop by the Discord. I see Handycart put an invite there. You can have conversations and, just relax with us. If you have questions throughout the week, the Discord is the better place to do that. He's really good about helping, and the community is very welcoming and all that good stuff. But that being said, that concludes this live stream. We'll probably do it again next Friday. Thanks for watching the number one brand in honesty, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.